Come along with us on a day trip to Gibraltar. This was day 9 of a 12-day trip to Andalucía we took this past May, and this is the day where everything went wrong, so if you're planning a trip there, stay tuned so you know what not to do. This is gonna be a long one, but stick around because we have lots of tips to give. So we woke up extra early, we're still at our resort in Cadiz, got some breakfast, we're feeling super refreshed after spending the last 2 days on the beach. We start our drive to Gibraltar and arrive around 11 a.m., park the car across the border, which is recommended, and walk in on foot. The whole process with the border went super well, there was hardly anyone, so we didn't wait at all. So as soon as you enter into Gibraltar, there is a bus stop with buses that can take you all the way to the cable car to go to the top of the rock, which is what our main goal for the day was. Make sure you have cash for these buses because they don't take card, but they do accept euros. I wanted to walk into the city as I really wanted to walk across the pedestrian runway, but I was convinced against it, which I ended up being really thankful for, as when we arrived to the cable car, we come to find out that it is closed for the day due to strong winds. This really threw us through a loop. It was something I had not anticipated in all of my planning. Another thing we realized simultaneously is that our eSIM stopped functioning once we crossed the border, which, duh, we're in the UK now, but it was another thing that completely didn't cross our minds. So if I were to give a few main tips, check the status of the cable car the morning of your trip, have a backup plan in place in case it's closed, make sure you have your eSIMs in check, and pick up a physical map of the rock upon entering the border. At this point, we were trying to figure out our next steps. We had made it all this way, and this was one of our most anticipated days of the trip. We ended up talking to one of the workers at the cable car. She gave us access to their Wi-Fi because I wasn't even able to pull up our tickets. As a side note, people in Gibraltar were so friendly and helpful throughout our day, so we were super grateful for that, especially considering we didn't have any network on our phones. So we basically had 3 options: either get a full refund and call it a day, book a taxi tour to bring us to the top of the rock, or climb to the top ourselves and get a refund for just the cable car portion. So being the maniacs we are, we decided to walk up to the top, which I want to preface this by saying there is an easy way to go about this, which I'll explain what we did, and the climb actually didn't end up being as bad as we had anticipated, but it would have gone way better if we had been mentally and physically prepared for it. So here's what we did for our compromise plan. We went in through the Moorish Castle entrance, as that's the lowest point of the rock. It's mostly walking on inclined streets with a few stairs, and there's a lot of lookout points that help slow down your pace. After entering the nature reserve from this side, we popped into the World War II tunnels, which was seriously so cool. We didn't end up walking through all of it as the tunnel complex is massive, but we did go through the exhibition and it was really interesting. Upon exiting, we hit up an ice cream truck as we were absolutely desperate for calories, being so unprepared for the day, and while we were eating it at a lookout, we noticed this mama perched on this railing, and it was our very first macaque sighting. The macaques of Gibraltar is probably the thing we were most excited for, so be prepared for a lot of monkey clips as they were everywhere. The cable car being closed for the day ended up being kind of a blessing in disguise. I'm not sure what it looks like on a typical day, but we got the impression that there were way less people on the rock, and the times where it did get busy was when the taxi tours would stop off and get out as a group, but they would soon leave, and it ended up being that we had most of the trails and sites pretty much all to ourselves. I feel like it's also the reason why we were able to experience so many of the macaques and get so close to them. And yes, this day was kind of a disaster, but it did end up redeeming itself, and I kind of feel guilty saying this, but it probably became our favorite part of our whole trip. So if you're hesitating on whether or not you should include it in your trip, 100% do it. We added this back into our itinerary at the last minute as I'd always really wanted to visit, but when doing research for this trip, I kept coming across people saying that it was either skippable, not worth it, that there were better things to see, and I couldn't disagree more. I would make the detour just to come here. We continued into the rock from this point, but you can only get so far with the inclined streets until you have to face some stairs. We had to take the Charles V wall, which is a set of stairs leading straight up to the cable car top station that pretty much looks like the stairway to heaven when you're walking up it. As scary as these stairs look, the climb wasn't too bad. There's a lot of sights along the way to stop at, including the Ape's Den and some battery lookout points. The scariest thing about these stairs are the sheer number of monkeys on them. This is where they're all concentrated. They were hanging out and walking on the ledges. At one point we had to walk over 4 of them sleeping huddled together on the actual stairs, which thankfully we didn't wake any of them up, and our hearts melted when we saw the cutest sight ever of a baby plopping himself down to get groomed by his mama. We couldn't believe our eyes. The stairs are pretty narrow, so it's pretty much impossible to avoid them, and despite all the negative things we heard, we only had good experiences with the macaques. They were super docile and pretty much kept to themselves. You can tell they're super used to humans. They didn't move away when we try and walk past them. I would say the babies are more the ones to watch out for, as they're more on the energetic side, and we did see one reach out and start play wrestling with a guy walking up the stairs right after us. The sights on the way up are absolutely incredible and some of the best I've seen when traveling. You get 180-degree views over Gibraltar and are able to clearly see the Atlas mountain range in Morocco across the strait, which looks absolutely massive and ethereal. Once you make it to the top, there's the apes feeding den, so there's a lot of monkeys here, and there are a couple taxi tours going through at the time, so there was a lot of action. We also saw them climbing up onto some of the guides' shoulders and try and climb in through the window of one of the driver's seats as they were leaving. We immediately went to the cafe at the cable car top station for some lunch. We found the food to be extremely expensive everywhere, and the options were not the best and quite limited. The plan after that was to continue south and exit on the southern point, so it would be one linear path. We went on the skywalk first, which has incredible views of both the north and south peaks. From the top of the rock cable car station, the walk from here is on a much needed incline downward where we were headed to the St. Michael's Cave. There were some things that we missed that we would have liked to have done, like the Windsor Suspension Bridge and O'Hara's Battery, which is the highest point of the rock, but we were both too tired and the walk would have been too lengthy going back and forth as all the streets up here wind around each other. The caves were such a unique surprise and included a light show and a built-in auditorium at the end. We were blown away by the diversity of activities and sites here in Gibraltar. There's really something for everyone here. We exited the nature reserve through the Pillars of Hercules, which ended up being so much smaller in person. It was kind of comical. This is the southernmost point of the rock, so there's a really nice lookout here that gives you a clear view of the Atlas Mountains. We caught a bus a bit of a ways out from where we exited that brought us back to the city center. There's not much to do in the actual town, so don't feel pressed to fit it in your itinerary. The star of the show here is really the rock, and you'll want to devote most of your time to it. In the end, I was able to walk across the runway like I wanted to. The only way in and out of Gibraltar is by walking across their airport runway, so this was super cool. Crossed the border again without issue or wait, grabbed a bite to eat, and then set out on our drive to Malaga, where we'd be spending the following 4 nights. This seemed like a really long day, but from the time we parked our car at 11 a.m. to crossing the border back into Spain close to 5 p.m., I think it's very doable as a day trip given all that we were able to accomplish. Day 10, we'll start our series of day trips from Malaga with Frigiliana and Nerja, so stay tuned for that.